Get home from school, turn on my TV. Who are these friends staring right back at me? Now that we're older, why don't you come over and go back in time with me? 90s babies nostalgia.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is 90s Babies Nostalgia, where two fully grown millennial women rewatch and sometimes watch for the first time iconic tween entertainment, or not iconic, just tween entertainment from the early 2000s.
It's usually iconic. We are not sponsored by or affiliated with any of the channels or companies that we refer to in this podcast. We just really like watching TV. And today we are rewatching
That's So
Raven Season 1, Part 2.
Yes. And as a fun little special, we are together. We haven't seen each other in literal years. So
Yeah, I was trying to think. Wasn't my wedding in Vegas?
was that the last time?
I was trying to think and I couldn't think.
No, surely. Well, did we ever see each other when I lived at home in 2019?
I don't think we did.
Oh my god.
I think that the last
I
time.
feel like I've seen you in the last 2
I
years.
agree.
But surely we haven't.
I don't think so. But here we are in person. We're figuring out the kinks. We're recording in kind of a weird space, but we're going to make it work.
And it's raining, if you can hear the ambiance. We've got, my mic is messed up. You can see all kinds of cords. But, it's cozy. And we're together. And that's what matters during the holidays.
Truly. If you heard the end of the last one, we got kind of unexpectedly cut off due to technical difficulties.
It was like technical difficulties that then created emotional difficulties. It just wasn't worth it to keep going. And we recorded a bunch of stuff that never even got recorded because of the technical difficulties. And just, we needed a breather.
Yeah. So we took a breather. We're finishing up season 1. We're excited about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think this might be a thing that we do because, when we intro a season or a series, there's so much with the characters and the plot and everything that, like, the episodes get long. We know if you listen, all 8 of you, episodes are long. We know. So it might be nice to cut it. We'll see.
We'll see. Maybe we'll continue doing this moving forward. Maybe not. If you have an opinion, let us know. We'd love to hear it. But we're kind of just figuring this thing out as we go.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rules.
No. So episodes 1 through 4, and the premise and setup for That's So Raven you can hear on our previous episode. We're going to start with episode 8, Saving Psychic Raven.
This one opens up with Chelsea and Raven playing volleyball, and they lose the game because Raven gets a vision mid spike, and one of the girls. What's a spike? I don't know.
A spike is when you mid serve.
Yeah, it was mid spike that she got a vision.
Sorry.
Of. And Carly, who is in the audience, comes up to Raven after the game and is like, I know what happened there, and hands Raven a business card for the Sleevemore Psychic Research Center, in which Raven chooses to go to this Psychic Research Center, and they're doing testing, and there's all different types of psychics and people with special abilities.
Yeah, they're like not just psychics, they're like telekinetic and starting fires and reading each other's minds and lots of different things.
Yeah, one guy like
bends spoons.
Yes. With his mind. He moons.
Raven, like, she feels excited to find out that it's not just her and her family that are psychic or that have these abilities, and she starts to bond with these new friends. But then Chelsea and Eddie get kind of jealous, I think.
Well, Raven lies to them
Oh,
and is like,
right.
I can't go bowling with you guys because I don't know. She says she has like plans with her family or something, but really
Yeah.
she's going out to eat dinner with everyone, her new friends from the Psychic Research Center, and Eddie and Chelsea end up seeing her at this dinner and they kind of confront her. And Eddie makes this comment of like, why are you hanging out with those freaks? Which
Yes.
puts Raven in a tough spot because then she feels like they're calling her a freak because if her new friends are freaks, then isn't that what she is too?
And they are kind of weird and nerdy, but freak is obviously a strong word
Yes.
in any sense, and especially in this sense. Yeah.
Yes. And so Raven kind of feels torn, but she ends up being like, I need Eddie and Chelsea in my life, but saying like, what they said was not cool about her new friends, but she chooses to continue her friendship with Eddie and Chelsea and to kind of separate herself from the Psychic Research Center and says goodbye to her new friends that she made there.
Yes. I don't know. I think we see them again. Like, I think she at least sees the doctor again who's helping her. I pretty much only assigned this episode because I know that the Psychic Research Center makes a comeback in Raven's home, which I saw on TV a few years ago and was very confused because I did not remember him at all. And Raven was like, he really helped me when I needed it. So I think there's something that's going to come up where she does go back and needs his help.
Well, and rewatching it, I really remember Carly. Like, I
Oh.
remember her. And so I don't know if I remember her from that episode
Or from something else.
or because she shows up multiple
Yeah.
times.
It's
I
just
don't remember any of the other people.
no. Just the guy that bends spoons.
Well, I only remember him from recently
Oh, okay.
rewatching it.
Yeah, I didn't really remember this well. Just only remembered because of the Ravens Home episode. But I do really like that they open up this world a bit. Like, I've talked about it before and I'll talk about it again that I think Raven did a lot for Disney Channel, and it kind of is the first where we see this magical realism scenario in which she's living a very normal life in our world. She just has this one thing about her that's different, which is kind of the premise of every show after, like The Sweet Life, where they just happen to be in a luxury hotel, and Hannah Montana, where she just happens to be a pop star. And Wizards is actually fantasy, but it keeps this is kind of how they continue to tell their stories after that. And opening this episode opens it up that this isn't just her, that this is a world that has this little element to it.
Yeah, that she's not alone in that feeling, that there's other people who can relate to her. And we learn later this season too that she's gets her psychic abilities from her grandma.
Yes. It runs in the family, but it like skips a generation, I think.
Yeah. Um I liked this episode a lot because I think it covers a topic that's very important that a lot of people struggle with in high
Friends.
school, which is friend groups.
Yeah.
And that you can have two separate groups of friends. You can have three separate groups of friends. You can have as many as you want. But also, your friend groups don't have to get along with each other.
Yeah.
You can have, obviously there's a fine line if someone is bullying someone who's your friend and you're not standing up for them. But like, your friend groups can be separate. You don't have to intermingle and mix them, and all of your friends don't have to get along with one another.
Yeah. I was always someone who was like friends with lots of different friend groups, or a single friend from they had their own friend groups, and I never really had my own group. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of get that and I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Freaks was too far.
Yes, yes, yes.
You
It
want
was
them
not
to at least
appropriate.
respect each other.
Yes. But also, Raven's new psychic friends were playing tricks and messing with Eddie and Chelsea, and that didn't sit well with Raven either. So it was a little bit of
That's true. It was a bit of a back and forth.
yeah.
And then but even though that's the point that you like, that's not really the point of the episode because she just
No.
like chooses Raven or
Yeah.
chooses Chelsea and Eddie at the end.
Yeah, it's not the point of the episode.
It's just like something to think about.
The side plot. Are you okay with moving
Yeah.
on to the side
I
plot?
don't know what the side plot is. Thank God you know these things.
Corey is worried about Lionel, his rat. Tanya agrees. Okay, you're worried about Lionel. Let's get him a lady friend. And so the entire living room is full of cages with rats. I'm talking about like 40 rat cages in this living room. So they end up like testing out Lionel with all these rats, and then they find a rat for Lionel. And I don't think I wrote her name down.
I have no idea.
I don't remember what her name was, but they end up holding like a little wedding for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cute.
I felt seen in this. Every plot line with Lionel made me very happy because I, as a kid, had pet rats and everyone judges me for it. But you know what? Rats make great pets. They're better than hamsters. 10 out of 10, recommend. They're friendly. They're smart. They just do their own little thing. Like, they'll live a couple years. They're way better.
They're very, very smart.
Yeah.
They're cute.
Yeah. And they're not dirty if they've lived domesticated their whole lives.
Yep.
It's not like I took them from the streets of New York.
Yeah, exactly. And Lionel's, I found it. I did wrote it down. Daisy. Lionel
I
and
thought that's
Daisy.
what it was, but I wasn't sure because one of my pet rats was named Daisy. So I was like, is this real or did I just conflate the two?
Because you wanted it to be.
Yeah, because my pet rat was Daisy and my brother's was Brownie, and they were because Daisy was white and Brownie was brown, and it was also because of Girl Scout levels.
It shows you that when you're a child, the things you name your pets
are stupid.
Yep. Correct.
Anything else to say?
I just have a quote written down.
Yeah.
Don't know who said it. Don't know in what context it was said. Are you equating cheese with the love of a good woman? And I felt that because sometimes food, it can make you feel the same way that love makes you feel.
Especially good cheese.
Yeah. So we can end on that one.
I don't know about a woman, but definitely a man.
Yes. Exactly. So next we have episode 9. The parties.
So Raven gets to host her first big boy-girl party. I don't actually know why. I don't think that it's like a birthday party or anything. I just think it's just a party, which is one of the first probably plot lines we get. That's more high school. It's showing that Disney's embracing this aging up. And she goes around inviting people to her party, and her nemesis, Nikki, who is played by Kirsten Storm, who was Xenon in the 3 Xenon movies, which Raven was also in as her best friend. So I just love that she's in there. She's also in Kim Possible. Both of them were in Kim Possible. But anyway, she decides to sabotage Raven's moment by saying she's having a party the same night and she lives like right down the street from Raven. And she doesn't have invitations because you go on her website. And she's going to be playing like giant screen music videos, and that's the only draw I remember to her party.
And her dad's a Giants player.
Oh, right. So you get to meet him.
Yes.
And this was also like, I'd like to say, I don't know that much about sports, but I do know that at this time in the early 2000s, the Giants were really good. And then they kind of weren't as good because Barry Bonds left, and then now we're better again. But, this was like Barry Height-ish. It was a time when we were a good team. As Bay Area people, I say we.
And with them being from San Francisco, them throwing in the Giants makes sense.
I feel seen.
Yeah.
You don't throw in the A's.
No.
No.
They would have had to be from Oakland for them to throw in the A's.
Well,
Or East Bay.
you still wouldn't throw in the A's because they're just not as good of a team by any
I
stretch.
don't know. If you talk to East Bay people, they may argue with you.
um. So anyway, Nikki goes to sabotage Raven's party, and Raven tries to get revenge. I think she employs Eddie and uh Corey in helping her, and they
Yeah.
like they say that something got delivered for Nikki at Raven's house, so she comes to get it. And in the meantime, they like what do they like pour honey all over her and feathers
Uh-huh.
and stuff.
Yeah, it's like a series of unfortunate events where they set her up to get, yeah, like honey all over her, and then they like hit her with a feather pillow, and then she gets feathers all over
Yeah,
her,
yeah.
and then they send her outside, and the sprinklers get set off, so then she's like soaking wet.
Mhm. And then they feel guilty. Raven feels guilty. They were going to, like, show her like this. Eddie, like, hacks it, or was it Eddie or was it
I
Corey?
think Corey hacked into,
Her giant screen TV.
yes, and so the camera that they were holding, if they
Yeah.
pressed on, was connected to the giant screen TV at Nikki's house, which don't understand the technology, especially for early 2000s. But Raven feels super, super guilty. And so she's like, no, if we do this, then I'm just stooping down to her level, and that doesn't feel good. Like, that feels worse than winning.
Yeah, so they never hit record, and she lets Nikki shower, and she gives her one of her own dresses of creation to wear to the party.
Hmm.
And lets her leave, but not before giving her flowers that have, like, something itchy on them.
Poison ivy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We get a lot of poison ivy. We got poison ivy and Lizzie McGuire. We're getting some poison ivy, and that's so Raven.
You know, growing up, I really thought that I was gonna, like, encounter a lot of poison
No.
ivy, like, everywhere. Like, I'm amazed that I've made it 28 years of life and I've not ever encountered it.
Yeah. Well, mostly because it's
It's
not
not in
on the West
California.
Coast.
Yeah, I thought it was. I still don't fully believe
It's
you.
poison oak.
I've seen poison oak, but I've never
Yeah.
gotten the itchy from it.
Yeah, me neither, which I'm shocked. Especially during quarantine, my one thing getting out of the house was hiking.
Hmm.
And the amount of time I went hiking and did not get poison oak, I don't understand. Because it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But some people are more susceptible to it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Just thought it was like everyone.
Well, I think it is an
Or
everyone
it's like an
thing, but
allergy thing.
yeah, I just think some people have like a stronger reaction. It's like mosquito bites.
Oh.
I have to say Raven's party sounded way better.
Yeah, because her dad was gonna make the food and he's a
Yeah.
chef and
And they were gonna have a band, so it was gonna
mm-mm.
be live music and food cooked by chef. I don't know why you would go to Nikki's party and not Raven's party. Didn't make sense. Also, we didn't mention that Raven was still planning on having the party,
Mm-hmm.
but Nikki ended up sending an email out to everyone and telling them that Raven's party got moved to the week
Right.
before. So Nikki actually like truly sabotaged Raven. Like she
Yeah,
told
yeah,
everyone that her
yeah.
party got moved. Everyone shows up at Raven's house. She's wearing like a green
Face
face
mask
mask
and a
and a robe.
robe. Yeah.
And then Nikki ends up taking a picture of Raven like that and getting a cardboard cutout made. And then at school, everyone's taking photos of this cardboard cutout. So it's pretty humiliating. Like, Nikki did not like take it easy and was just like, oh, I'm having our parties on the same day. Like, she went out of her way to sabotage Raven.
And it was pretty justified what Raven was planning on doing to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She went a little easy on her.
Yeah. 100%.
I kind of think it's interesting that, like, the villain's MO, or not MO, but like method for dispersing her evil is technology. Because she's
Sure.
like, if you check out my website, And, like, this is 2003 and she's 15 years old, like, unless she knows how to code, like, the basic HTML that was being used at that time, I find it hard to believe she had a website. And then she sends out the email to everyone, and that's, like, I don't know, it's an interesting use of tech.
Yes, I agree, because it seems a little more techy than people would be at that age.
And then also the TV hacking and all of that.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know.
I also have to say that, like, at the beginning, Raven and Chelsea are very like, we're throwing this party like adults. We're having a party for no reason, and that's what adults do. And I had to say, it's not what adults do, it's what college students do. Adults have reasons for parties: housewarming, Galentine's, Halloween. Like, adults have reason. It may be summer barbecue, but there's a reason to have a gathering of people and to host people over to your house, even if it's Friday game night. It's not, we're going to throw a party for no reason. That's college students.
I don't know, I kinda wanna have, like, a dinner party for no reason.
Yeah, but then is that just hosting people for dinner? Or is it a dinner party? I guess what classifies a party?
Mm,
Is it a certain amount of people?
yeah, a party is just a group of people.
But is it
Like party of 1, party of 2 when you show up at a restaurant.
okay, but that's for a
No,
reservation.
that's the meaning of party. You have a party,
I
you
don't
have a
know.
group
I
of
guess to
people
me, like,
over.
adults don't have parties for no reason. Adults have a reason to
Mm,
party.
college students do it more so,
Yeah.
yes.
So the fact that they're like,
Yes.
we're adults. I'm like,
College students are kind of adults, legally.
yeah, I would classify them as like sub-adults. I mean, I thought I was an adult when I was a college student.
Mhm.
Definitely was not. But also, am I an adult now? I don't know what I'm doing half the
I
time,
feel
so.
the same. I had a lot of, not a lot, but I had some fun quotes from this. I don't know who Chelsea's talking to in this point, but she says, "If you're going to wear sandals, you should probably shave your toes."
Mhm.
And it really stood out to me.
Yep.
She might not have said it
Nope, that's
so
exactly how she said it.
okay. Do you know who she said it to?
She said it to a girl in the bathroom, so
Oh,
I
right, right,
think they
right,
were
right, right.
handing out
She was,
invitations.
yeah, looking under the stalls or
Yeah,
something.
and she saw the girl's toes, and then that's when she said that.
I don't always anyway. And then it was just that if you check my website and music videos on a giant screen TV, it was just like it was so early 2000s. It's such a weird dated flex.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, and this was the first episode that was the start of this running joke that the parents have where they're like, when the kids leave, they get on the couch and they're like, "We're all alone. We could have some fun. What
Yeah.
do you want to
Yep,
do?"
yep.
And then it's always broken up by like the pizza guy comes or they bring out a board game or like, it's just like a little joke for the parents that they're gonna do the do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a joke between the parents, but it's also a joke for the parents
Well, yeah, yeah,
watching.
yeah.
Because at this point, like, Disney recognizes, like, these TV shows, who they're making them for, but that they have an audience of parents watching as well, so they make a more like, they make more of an effort to throw in little
Yeah.
things like that, like, parents would be like, "Oh, that's pretty good."
Yeah, but the kids wouldn't.
Yep.
I think they do that too for the reboots, and I've noticed, like, watching it now, they have commercials for, their Star Wars Disney Plus
Mm.
shows and they say, like, "Parents, this is streaming blah, 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 blah," because
Uh,
they expect that's who's seeing that
yeah.
commercial. Yeah.
Interesting.
But as an adult, I'm like, "Wow, their parents are always trying to get it on."
Yeah. Seriously. Alright, episode 14. Are you ready?
Mhm.
A dog by any other name.
I can't with this fucking episode.
This episode's ridiculous. If you rewatched it, please let me know your thoughts. I need to know. I must know.
I assign this episode for the criticism of gender roles alone because
Okay.
it is the dumbest
No.
premise Chelsea has a crush on a boy, but his name is Sam, and her dog's name is Sam, and that weirds her out, and when she talks to him, she imagines her dog's face on his. And that's about it.
Pretty much, but then, of course, in, like, true Chelsea and Raven fashion, they have to, like, get up to
They have
shenanigans.
to get involved.
They have to get involved because they need to give him a nickname that's not Sam, because the only way that Chelsea is able to date him is if his name's not Sam.
Yeah.
So they're like, go to play basketball and dress up as the guys, but, like, why can't they just play basketball?
That's what
Because it
I'm
looks
so
like gym
confused
class?
with. Like, they say that girls can't go into the gym or something like
Yeah.
that. And that was my criticism. And then the way that they play as boys, and they're like, "Yo, yo, yo, like,
Yeah.
what's up, bro?" And they say, like, "Her dad's tight with Kobe," and, like,
Yeah.
weird shit.
And, like, dragging their feet when they
Oh, yeah, they do a little, like,
walk.
slide, and they
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
And then, of course, the boys end up playing shirts and skins, and at first Raven gets sorted as a skin, and she doesn't know what that is, and she's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and then they all take their shirts off, and she's like, "I'm over there, I'm over there,
Yeah.
I'm with you, I'm a shirt."
But also, like, how would they not know what that is?
Yeah.
And then it ends up that Raven gets a vision that Sam won't show up to the date between Chelsea and him,
Yeah.
and Raven ends up telling Chelsea and warning her. But it's just all around weird because Chelsea actually gets pretty upset, and I'm like, you don't even really want to date this guy because you're weirded out by him constantly because you keep seeing your dog's face on his face.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because they spend the whole episode trying to find a way for her to be with him that is good with her, but then he ends up being the bad guy.
Yeah. Even though all around, it's just all dumb.
Yeah.
They're all bad. They're
It's all
all
dumb.
caring about things that don't matter.
Yeah. Chelsea has a lot of sass in this episode.
Yep.
She gets really, like, riled up about this stuff. She has a line. Read it, memorize it, eat it.
Brenda Song is in this episode.
She makes a cameo. It's the first Brenda cameo I've seen of all the shows we've been watching, so I believe it's probably her first Disney Channel appearance, unless she did a decom before this, but I don't think
so.
she has some early ones, but I don't think they're this early. And truly, that means it's the start of Brenda's Disney Channel dominance, which is the world I want to live in and the world I grew up in when she was in, like, 5 or 6 DComs and tons of shows.
She was in everything.
I know. She is one of the unsung heroes of Disney Channel, I think. 'Cause
Truly.
she never got, like, icon status. She was never a Hillary or a Raven. She never got to lead her own show,
No.
but she carried the channel.
She definitely carried the channel, and I'm excited to watch Sweet Life. Purely, I could do a whole episode on my favorite London Tipton quotes. Like, I feel like I could just keep track of them, and then we could just do an episode on what did London say.
Let us know if you want us to do that.
Yeah.
But we have to move. She has a
Wait.
brief cameo.
A brief cameo. I do
Yes.
have a couple more thoughts about this episode.
Mhm.
This is the spitting teacher episode, so this is the first time, or at least in the episodes I watched, the first time they see Mr. Lawler.
Yes.
I don't know if he's in any previous episodes.
Yeah, so this is like a wait what moment for me if you're watching it, because I watched all of them and he was in a few, and in one he was made principal before this episode.
Oh.
And I checked, and look, I don't care what you say about production order versus airing order. We are watching in the order that it aired because that's what's important for the audience, because as kids you don't know what the production order is. So I don't know if the production order was different. They kind of do a thing with the teachers where they regularly reintroduce them, like in almost every episode.
Yeah.
And a couple other side characters. But you've definitely already seen him, and he's supposed to be principal. And then in this one, Eddie's like struggling to like sit in the right place in his classroom, right?
Yes.
Because he spits so much.
Eddie gets the chair in which he
Yeah.
spits on. But the amount that this teacher spits when he talks, living in a COVID world, I had to close my eyes watching some of the scenes
Yeah.
because it was tough to watch.
Yeah.
Like, Eddie had to change his shirt. That's how much he spat.
Yeah. And he doesn't get it. At one point, someone, I don't know if it's this episode, but at one point someone does it back to him and he doesn't get that that's what he's doing. He doesn't know it.
Ugh, it's horrible. Small mention, Eddie and Raven freestyle in this episode. I think it's the first time we get a little bit of freestyle rap.
Mm.
Think it's pretty cool.
And Eddie does that a lot.
Yeah, we get
in-
it from Eddie a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, episode 17.
Yes, moving on to a better plot line.
Yeah, still a little weird though.
No, but I love this because this one dates it in a fun way.
Sure.
So episode 17, Sidekicks Wanted, Raven wants a job and she gets one.
She doesn't want a job. That's not true. She wants money. And the only way she's going to get money to buy tickets to the San Francisco Jazz Festival is to get a job.
And she wants tickets to the San Francisco Jazz Festival because there's this new guy in school named Quiz who's super cute,
Yep.
but he is into jazz. He's constantly playing his saxophone.
Yep.
So much so that she tries to talk to him and he just keeps playing. So it's really a weird little crush because he has no personality outside of jazz.
No.
But so she wants to get tickets to the festival, so she needs a job for the money because her parents won't give her the money for it and they're kind of expensive.
Mhm.
So how does she find out about the psychic's job?
She finds out because they look in the like ads in the newspaper, which also dates it.
Yes. So she ends up on one of those old school like psychic hotlines, which I've never called,
No.
but I definitely knew about. Like I saw like infomercials
Yep.
for at night. And so this one, they have like 20 people manning the phones they get calls, and then there's a main person who it's like Madame Cassandra or something like that.
Yep.
And she's on TV answering calls. And so Raven thinks that these are like real psychics at first. And she's like, oh, my visions don't work like that. Like it's not just like on command. And the guy's like, ha 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 ha. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
But he just thinks she's being weird. And then, she learns to fake it. And they're making $15 an hour.
Yes. I was going to say, it's important that we note that.
15 an hour in 2003.
Yes.
And so Chelsea and Eddie get jobs there too because
here
they
we
want
are
to make
fighting
15 an hour.
Like here we are fighting for $15 an hour minimum wage in 2021. So this shows you how not only unrealistic.
Well, maybe that job did pay that much.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's ahead of its time, not a whole lot, but you think about a lot of places. I think in Reno it's still like 8 an hour.
Yep. $7.75, I think.
There you go. So they're making 15 an hour. Chelsea and Eddie are like, get me in on that. Eddie eats all the snacks all the time.
Mhm.
Chelsea gets way too attached to her customers. She starts calling them, which is not how these work because these are collect calls. That's how they're making money, is that they have to keep people on. And then Quiz calls into so Madame Cassandra quits. Raven gets promoted to her position. Quiz calls. Raven answers.
And Raven is Miss Tallulah.
Yes, putting on a weird like Jamaican pseudo accent thing.
Yeah, it's not really. Yeah. It's Jamaican Caribbean of some.
Yeah. And so she tells Quiz that there's a girl in his class who's his lucky charm. That's Raven. She gives out her home address on television, which freaks the crap out of me. And he shows up to her house with his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And they just say, it's so nice to meet his lucky charm, Quiz's lucky charm. But they don't like actually meet her. They just like give her flowers and say hi. They don't like ask her anything about herself.
Nope. And then she gives them the tickets to the jazz festival that she bought for Quiz and herself, but gives it to them, which I'm like, why didn't you go with Eddie or Chelsea? Doesn't make sense to me. She worked for that. Quiz ends up calling back because Raven gets a vision that Quiz wins a scholarship for jazz camp. And
he hasn't received it yet. So he's starting to say, I met my lucky charm. It's not working. And she goes, why are you don't worry, you'll get it. Don't call me. She's like, she keeps insisting, don't call me. And the manager is getting mad. So he tries to take her off the air. At the same time, Madam Cassandra is there being like, "Oh, you don't need me, huh?"
Yes.
And so she goes in to save the show, and Raven like pulls. There's this giant
Palm?
like plastic palm, like
Like the palm that
hand.
like marks like where the different like points are and the the
Mhm.
lines and
Yeah.
stuff.
She pulls the thumb off of it,
Yep.
and then Madame Cassandra pulls off another finger, and they
Yep.
start like fighting with the fingers.
Yes. And so then that gives the like creepy psychic manager guy the idea to start. Doesn't he say he's going to start a business with like palm fighting or
I didn't
something?
know that.
Yeah, he says something like he's like, "Oh, I don't need this anymore. I have a new business idea."
And he fires Raven, Chelsea, and Eddie.
Yeah.
And there's another allusion in there with the parents where they are cuddling up on the couch or something, and
Yes.
I think there's a line about I found a magazine that alludes to a special kind of magazine.
Oh, I did
I
not
think I
catch
think it, I think
that.
it might be in Corey's plotline. I don't know what the subplot is. We had some more technical difficulties like we had before, but we're back and we have snacks.
Yep, we have snacks, so if you see us crunching away, we're just enjoying our little slumber party vibes here. And we left off discussing, was there a side plot in this episode? And I'm here to tell you, yes, there was.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I think it's hinted at, but they kind of dive into Corey's running plot line of Corey is the richest man that lives in this household.
Mm-hmm.
Corey is great at saving. He saves all of his money, and he has a very intense security system in his room because he's afraid that
Mm-hmm.
Raven is going to steal his money.
Yes.
And so this kind of goes into that,
Mm-hmm.
except that it traps Tanya and Victor because they're trying to pay the pizza guy,
Who
but
can't take card
they can't take credit cards.
and they don't have cash.
Which I'm like, that is a very early 2000s.
But I remember those days. Like I
Yeah.
remember my mom calling my dad and saying, "Don't forget to get cash on your way home from work because we're ordering pizza tonight." Yeah.
It was the thing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so they get stuck in a net like a bear trap.
Yep. And then Raven at the end also gets stuck in the bear trap after losing her job when she needs money again from
Mhm.
Corey.
And it's kind of funny rewatching these shows to remember, like, I wouldn't have necessarily first thought of Corey's like love of money as a trait, thinking of that so Raven, but then as soon as it shows up, you're like, oh right, this is a thing, and it becomes I already know it's gonna become more and more common in his subplots.
Mm-hmm. It's like a character trait.
Yeah.
A running character trait.
I think it continues into Corey in the house too, because it becomes like more defining of his character than even his crush on Chelsea.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Episode 18. If only I had a job.
If I only had a job.
If only I had a job.
If I only had a job.
What do you have? Oh, I have if only I had a job. And you have if I only had a job.
Uh-huh.
I wonder what one it is. Oh, Amanda is correct. If I only had a job.
Yes. Which I think is like I don't know, then lots of job related episodes.
Yep.
So Raven has a vision of Victor getting fired, and she goes to her dad's place of work. He's a chef at a nice restaurant, and she sees, Victor's like, he's a good chef. He cares about having the freshest quality ingredients, but the boss kind of like is cheap and cares more about saving money. And Raven talks to him a lot. He's a newer boss that bought the restaurant, I think. And she keeps emphasizing how great her dad is to the point where it annoys this boss. So much so that he kicks her out. And I think he says something bad about her. And that leads Victor to get angry, and then after he gets angry, they have an argument, and then he gets fired?
We don't see all of that, but
Ah.
yes, it is inferred that related to Raven coming in, there's some sort of argument between the boss and Victor comes home and announces that, yeah, he got let go from his job, he got fired.
Mhm.
And so Raven is trying to get Victor his job back.
Yeah. And so she realizes that the manager is super into, like, celebrities.
Yes.
And so she does some of her best costume work and dresses up as a celebrity that does not exist,
Yes.
a pop star with a bright blonde wig and a
Yes.
big fur coat.
Liz Anya.
Yes, because they didn't think of a name before they got there.
Yes. So Eddie sees lasagna, and then outborn is Liz Anya.
And Eddie's there dressed like a bouncer, and
Uh-huh.
Chelsea's there dressed like a best friend groupie type person,
Yeah.
all with funny wigs and costumes. And Chelsea does some of her best acting work in this episode.
Yes.
She does ridiculous, overdramatic deliveries.
The three of them commit
Yes.
fully to this Liz Anya act, trying to get Victor his job back. They are 100% in. And these are the best moments in That's So Raven is when
The three of
whatever
them.
is written, the characters fully commit. Like, it could even be Tanya and Raven, like one of my favorite moments in episode 4, Wake Up Victor. Like, anytime they fully commit to whatever is written and they go full out with their physical comedy, but also the way they interact with one another, creates the funniest episodes. And this is one of those episodes where you're laughing watching it because the three of them are being so ridiculous. And at one point, they're asked to play a song, and Eddie goes to sit down on the piano,
Uh-huh.
but the only song he knows how to play is The Saints Go Marching In.
Which he doesn't say. He goes, I only know how to play one
One
song. And
song.
she goes, play the song. And then it just do, 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 do. And so Raven's like, oh, when the saints.
Yeah, she like commits.
Yeah, the three of them together are always a treat. I don't know if this was recorded or if it's in our lost footage, but definitely like the I've read a review about how they shine the most when it's the three of them together and their dynamics and just like in the song, which is so iconic, the theme song, all three of them are part of it.
Mhm.
And I feel like you really see that in this one.
Mhm.
And also just like I admire Raven commits to everything.
Mhm.
Chelsea and Eddie never have the ideas, but they always commit anyway and they always stick with her plans.
Mhm.
You know? I really appreciate their friendship.
Yep. And I think like what makes the comedy so hilarious in That's So Raven is that they stick to the improv like rule of yes and. They're
Mhm.
constantly, and who knows if this is the actors themselves or if this is a writing or a combination, but they're constantly yes anding each other.
Yes.
And so it just the delivery is so much
Mhm.
funnier because there's no doubt in their facial expressions. They're just like, the Saints go marching in. This is what we're doing. We're going to go with it. Like, it is what it is. And it makes it just that much more entertaining.
Yeah. And then, and so while they're doing this, Raven, in her ridiculous pop star persona, has been insisting that Victor is the best chef and she, doesn't want to eat anyone else's food and she'll perform if they hire Victor back and things like that.
Yeah.
And then there's like a little tiff where, oh, Victor shows up, I think, at the restaurant. Right? Or someone comes, and so they're, like, trying to hide because they're
Yeah.
gonna be recognized, so they're, like, running back and forth in the
And then they
kitchen.
like trip and fall.
Yeah, and somehow Chelsea and Raven's wigs swap.
Well, no, because Eddie ends up with the blonde wig.
Oh,
All of
right.
their like hair pieces end up on one another.
Yeah, and then that's when the manager's like, you thought I didn't recognize you.
Yes. Even though he definitely did not recognize them because he was totally going along with it.
Yeah. But it works out because Raven, like, apologizes to her dad, and he's like, maybe I had bigger things planned,
Yep.
and that restaurant didn't need to be the end for me, and then he congratulates her because he says, "I've never seen him that angry before," and that's saying
Yep.
something.
Yeah, and he says this line, sometimes bad news is really an opportunity in disguise.
Mhm.
And then Raven shortly after gets a vision where it says like Baxter's place. So it's kind of foreshadowing, which we don't get a lot of in these shows, but it's foreshadowing that Victor is most likely going to open up his own restaurant, names Baxter's place. So we're kind of it's opening up that door for the plot line.
And I just want to point out this is episode 18. There's 21 episodes in season 1. This feels like the finale because as rewatchers, we know that in season 2 we get the Chill Grill, which is Victor's own restaurant. And
Mhm.
so this is really opening us up for that.
Mhm.
And it feels like this should have been the end because it feels transitional,
Mhm.
you know? But it's not.
Mm-mm.
But before we get on to the next one, we still have a subplot because I need to talk about the subplot.
Oh, good. I don't have anything written down except one comment.
It's Tanya's out of town for this episode, and while Victor's watching the kids,
Mm.
she makes a comment about making sure that Corey to help Corey get dressed, and I'm like, Corey's like 8 years old. The boy can dress
Yeah,
himself. Like
he's 10.
10 years old. I was a style icon at 9 in my elementary
Yeah.
school. I was into the plaid skirts and everything. Anyway, and so he's like, Corey can dress himself, and Corey walks down in swimwear,
Mhm.
in like floaties and
Yeah. A big inner tube.
yes, that's what it's called. And Victor has to send him back upstairs, and he comes back down in his regular clothes, and he has this great quote where he says, "I'm ready now. My creativity has been squashed, but I'm ready." And I
Yeah.
really felt that.
Yep.
And that's just really like I feel like that's all of the subplot. It's just
Yeah.
like Corey like wanting to dress himself.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe this is something with like Chelsea dressed up and this comic comes out. I'm not sure, but I just wrote that Corey is like hypersexual and weirdly flirty throughout the series. And
Mm,
I just wrote that I don't know how I feel about that character
yeah,
choice.
it's always like, "Hey, baby, what's up,
Yeah.
baby?
Yeah, he's just a little
You
like
you doing your thing."
yeah. It just makes me uncomfortable.
Do you think it has to do with them being a black family that they're like stereotyping how he would talk or like what he would have learned from media? Or do you think it's
Maybe, but I think they do the rest of it well, like, the
yeah.
freestyling and the kind of, like, vernacular that Eddie and Raven use towards one another and the way that Tanya refers to them, it's very
It
I
doesn't
like
feel
that it
forced.
doesn't feel forced and it doesn't feel whitewashed a lot of the times. It
Yeah.
actually feels very real for a Black family, which I think makes this show really good, but I wonder if those Corey character traits
Yeah. I don't know that that
are
is.
stereotype I don't know, I just don't love it.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite character choice for him.
Yeah. I get it, kind of, but it is strange, and I think he's the only I don't know if he's the only one that does that of the younger
'Cause
siblings.
Matt's not really
Not at
hypersexual.
all.
Louis, not really.
No.
Like, that one episode with the
Mhm.
cheerleading coach, but it's not as a character trait, it's just one crush.
Yeah. And I don't always love these plot lines as like an adult thinking about the way that like boys would treat girls. Because I do think there are some boys out there that would talk to girls this way, like
Yeah.
not knowing what it means, but knowing that it would make the girl uncomfortable.
Yep.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's something to think about. And otherwise, I like Corey.
Yeah, he's a good character. Episode 19.
Escape clause.
This is our holiday episode, which very apt timing. We're recording this on the 27th of December. We watched it in December, or at least I watched it in December. You might have been November
I
when
have
you
no
watched it.
idea.
It's Christmas time,
Woo!
and Raven gets a vision of her opening a necklace, and the family's getting ready to go out caroling as one of their family traditions. And so Raven fakes sick, and they all go out caroling.
She fakes sick because gets a vision of what her present's gonna be.
Yeah, she gets a vision of her opening a necklace.
Okay, sorry, I just heard you say she gets a vision.
Oh yeah, no. Maybe I didn't say she opened a necklace. She
You
gets a
probably
vision.
did, and I probably spaced out.
Okay. Okay. So she pretends to get sick, and so she goes to her presents, finds this necklace, and she decides she's going to wear it to school before Christmas because that's a good idea. And so Chelsea asks, Raven's loving her necklace. Chelsea asks to try it on. And so Raven's like, yeah, you can try it on and wear it. And then it gets stuck on Chelsea's neck. And so then Raven and Eddie are trying to get this necklace off of Chelsea,
Mm-hmm.
but the clasp won't undo.
And Eddie's like pulling really aggressively.
Yes. And eventually it comes off, but the necklace goes flying out the window, in which
The gardener.
lawn mows it up.
Yep. They're like, oh, I see it.
And then you hear it like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so then you see them in Raven's bedroom, all on the phone, calling different places to try to find a place that has the necklace. They find a place that has it, except they're going to have to pick it up by 1 p.m. So they're like, okay, we're going to ditch Mr. Petricelli's class because there's a sub.
A sub who always watches movies.
Yes. So we're going to leave at lunch, ditch Mr. Petricelli's class, and then come back in time for the rest of the afternoon to go to the mall to replace this necklace.
This is the first time we see Eddie and Chelsea really question Raven's antics because they don't want to do it at first. They're like, you're going to skip school. I'm not going to skip school. And then they kind of just decide to after she's guilt tripped them, essentially. She's like, well, I can't do this alone.
Need you. Yeah.
I need you to do this with me. And so if I can't do this without you, then I'm not doing it at all. And then my parents are going to be heartbroken.
Yeah.
And then they start to feel guilty because, well, Chelsea asked to wear the necklace and, well, Eddie pulled it off too hard. And so they all got her into this, even though it's really Raven's fault for opening her gift and wearing it to school.
Yes.
They still decide, okay, fine, we will go to the mall with you. Which I wonder where this mall is. They're just walking to the mall.
Do they take the bus? I kind of vaguely remember maybe stock footage of like.
Well, there's always stock footage of the trolley.
Oh.
I don't know. I remember that
I guess I just assumed.
They're coming up with a plan where Raven's like, okay, this is the schedule. We're doing this, 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 then this. And then Chelsea's like, okay, here's a map of the mall and the map of the school. And we're going to go out here and here. And then they're like, all right. And Eddie for transportation. And he goes, we walk.
Okay.
I think that's what he said.
Yeah.
I don't think he says we take a bus. But he just like stands up and goes, we're going to the mall.
Yeah. Okay. You might be right. But they do this successfully. And so then they decide, let's go take a photo with Santa to commemorate our misadventure.
Fucking stupid.
Let's go take a photo with Santa. And then Santa's Mr. Petricelli, but they are pretty sure Santa's Mr. Petricelli.
Yeah. And so they're running around trying not to be seen. They think they've done it, right?
Yep.
But then Victor and Tanya are taking Corey to get his annual photo taken with Santa in a costume he does not like, that he swindles both of his parents into getting him to paying him to wear, because his mom's like, well, you know how much it means to your dad, and your dad's like, you know how much it means to your mom, so he gets them each to pay him $20. But anyway, they go to take the photo, and Raven hears it, and that's when she's like, oh crap, they're gonna see my photo, right? Because it goes up. She has a vision that they're going to see the photo because it's up on a wall.
She just has a vision of the photo on a wall.
As they're talking about going.
Yes. And so she is like, oh, they're going to see this photo when they're taking a photo with Santa with Corey. So then she's at the last minute is like, oh, I'll go with you. Because she tried to get out of going with them.
Mhm.
But then she's like, nope, I am going to go with you guys. She gets there. She tries to get it and is like running around the mall and stuff. But then she ends up running into the Santa. It's not Mr. Petrocelli.
Mm.
He lets her off the hook.
It's the same actor, but it's implied he is actually the one and only Santa.
Yes.
Because he knows that she's psychic.
Yes, but he is also magic because he gives Raven the ability to go back into the past and change her decision to not look at the necklace and to go caroling with her parents instead.
Does he give her that choice? I thought it was just that this entire episode is her vision.
No, he is like, I'll give you the choice to change the past. He offers up her changing the past. That's what I have written.
That's probably correct. It's either this one or another one where it's like the whole episode is her vision. Maybe it's this one? It felt weird though. But anyway, she goes back and she decides to go caroling with her family instead. I think it's hilarious that she just like immediately is like, oh my god, I'm sick in the beginning because she was just fine. But I'm not gonna lie, they sound good as carolers.
Yeah.
Their
And
voices
the
blend.
episode ends with them all singing Silent Night.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a Baxter family Christmas song.
We also get a distinct choice where they break the fourth wall and the whole family sits at the piano and says, "From our family to yours, happy
Yeah.
holidays," looking right at the camera.
Yeah.
Which is not something that they do very often
No.
ever in shows, but I know happens sometimes in the early aughts, you know?
Yep. And other than the Silent Night Baxter family special, I didn't like this episode.
No.
No, because after watching it, because it was around the holidays, a lot of the Instagrams that we follow
Mm-hmm.
that post like nostalgia content were like, oh my god, this episode was so good. And I was like, did any of us really think this episode was good?
Did they? I felt that way about the Lizzie McGuire Halloween episode.
Yeah, people were posting very positive things of like, oh my god, I love this episode, blah blah blah. And I'm like,
Why?
I didn't like
I don't
it.
think it's bad. I didn't dislike it. I just I guess it like gives you that little lesson of like don't open your presents
Yeah.
beforehand, but it
Yeah.
doesn't feel substantial.
Yeah, it's the lesson that Raven's selfish actions ruined her own Christmas.
Yeah.
That her being selfish is what caused
Yeah.
everything else to go downhill.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't love this plot line. Also, it was very hard for them to ditch school. And I have to say, maybe the school they
No,
go
it
to, it
wasn't.
is hard for them.
No.
Yeah, they're like synchronizing watches and they're like,
No, but remember they do all that stealth stuff and like sneak
no
around
one's
and then
there.
they're like it's clear, like no
Yeah.
one's there. Yeah.
I
They're like,
guess
"Oh, I
they
guess we
made
could
it
have just walked."
seem like
They
it.
thought it would be really hard to
Yeah.
skip school, but it wasn't.
Okay, I guess that's true.
Which
But
is fair
then-
because I always thought it would be really hard to skip school and it was not.
No.
And I never did it because I was scared.
I ditched PE like every single day my senior year of high school.
Yeah, I didn't like breaking the fourth wall because I was always confused. Are you talking about from our family, the Baxter family, or are you talking about from our family, the Cast family? Who like
But maybe it's
we're
all of
talking-
it.
No.
Yeah.
Are they in character or not? Because I know that they're not like real,
Yeah.
but they're talking to me directly as if I'm real.
Yeah.
So are they in character or not?
Yeah.
That's what it really bothered me.
I didn't mind it. It felt like a Disney thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, we're wishing you happy holidays.
It felt more like a Nick or a PBS thing for me.
Okay, it's fair.
Okay, are we ready?
Episode 20.
Separation anxiety.
Yep.
Raven has a vision that her parents are fighting, and her dad says something like, maybe we should just call it quits.
That's it, Tanya. I can't take it anymore, and we're gonna have to split up.
Yes. And so she thinks that her parents are actually going to split up, like relationship wise.
Yep.
And she freaks out a bit. So, to prevent it from happening, she reconstructs their first date, which was at a country western bar.
Yep.
And it's Rusty's Bar and Grill. And
Yes.
she has Chelsea and Eddie and Corey in on it, where they put on the costumes and they're trying to rekindle their love. And
Yep.
Tanya and Victor keep fighting, but what they're actually fighting about, which is at the very beginning of it, like around the time that has the vision, is that Victor lost his wedding ring because he's a chef and he's always taking it off.
Yep. And he can't find it anywhere.
Yeah. And so while they're having this weird date, they're still kind of like, they're like, "Oh, remember this? Oh, blah blah blah." They're cute, and then it comes back around to that because Tanya's upset that this is a symbol of their marriage, and he has misplaced it, and so they start fighting again, and then he says the line,
Yep. But he's referring to
splitting up,
let's split up
and look for it.
and look for the ring.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing this on my own. I can't find it. This is important to you, so therefore it's important to me, but I'm going to need your help in order to find it.
Yeah. And so I guess what I skipped over is like, we learn in this episode that Eddie's parents are divorced. Raven
Yes.
goes to Eddie at one or early
Well,
on.
Eddie's staying at their house
Oh,
because Eddie's parents are like at a conference or something, at a dental conference. Eddie's mom is at a dental conference because his parents are divorced, so he lives with his mom, and so he's staying at Raven's house while his mom's away at the conference.
Right. And so she's talking to him about what it was like, and he's, saying he blames himself. He still wishes that if there was anything he could have done to keep them together,
Yeah.
which I get, but also, like, I explain your divorce to your children better than that.
Yes.
But some kids are still going to internalize it. And then they go to Chelsea because both of her parents are therapists,
Yeah.
and she helps kind of give relationship advice. And
Kind
I
of.
think she says something. What is she?
I don't know if it's her or if it's Eddie, but they say something along the lines of, if your parents have something to focus on other than them, then it will bring them together.
Right.
So Raven like gets in this full body
They
cast.
happen to be in Chelsea's art class while they decide this, and her teacher lets her paper mache Raven's entire body,
Yeah.
which would have taken days.
Days to dry.
Even just to apply, that would be a 12-hour process.
Sure. Because it has to be so many layers.
Yeah.
But then she ends up falling down and it breaks into
Like,
a million
immediately.
pieces. Yeah, because Lionel crawls down it.
Yeah, and so she, like, squirms and it breaks, like, as soon as she gets home.
Yep. The song they sing is Stay Together.
Oh, right. They do sing a song.
Mm-hmm.
It's really bad.
Yep.
There's a weird Halle Berry reference in the beginning where they say something about berries, and only if it's Halle Berry. And then it's like Eddie and Victor, and then they do this weird, like, shake it off, and I don't know why. I don't get the shake it off part.
No.
No.
But I don't remember that. But him and Eddie and Victor do have a few they have a cute relationship. It shows them having a very jokey relationship with one another.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this plot line.
Yep.
Not so much for Raven's point, but for the this was more prevalence and newsworthy almost, I think, when we were younger, because I kept hearing at that time, like, you're lucky if your parents stay together. That's when the divorce rates were becoming about 50%.
Yep.
And so there were a lot of kids who were dealing with this.
Yes. Yeah, and I think Yeah, it's one of those that people watching, probably a lot of those kids were struggling with the same thing that Eddie was dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And so to watch him internalize it, and it comes back around where, he is told, like, hey, there was nothing you could have done to stop this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your fault. So it's an important lesson for Eddie to learn.
Yeah.
Um,
The subplot is about Lionel being lost in the house, I think, and
Lionel finds
that's
the ring.
yes, I
So
know
the
that.
subplot connects around because
Yeah.
Lionel's lost.
Yeah, and that's, like, all it is that Lionel's lost just like the ring. He gets in her suit,
Yeah.
he finds the ring. I think he eats it.
It's found in his poop,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a cute episode with a good plot.
There's, some fun quotes of "You spell insane with an I." Because I think she was like, "You don't spell no, you do spell family with an I."
You do sell family with an
You
eye.
don't I don't know. I wrote that down. You don't wear your teeth, you don't wear your bra, which I believe was Tanya
Aunt?
quoting her aunt, mimicking her aunt, but I wrote it down. Um, there's a point where Raven's watching her parents through the window, by the way, through the glass door of the kitchen, and she's just like her face pressed up to it, and they don't say anything.
I feel like this is a Disney thing, though, where they act like people can't see through glass.
Yeah, I don't like it. There's also, is this coffee bitter? No, must be you.
Oh, was that the Tanya? Oh, I think Victor says that to Tanya.
I think so.
Yeah.
I really
I
like.
also think this is one of the first, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the first Disney episodes we get from the shows that we've watched where you actually see the parents fighting. So they're not fighting, but they're in an argument. And it shows them kind of going back and forth at each other, working through this argument together.
We see couples have tiffs. I'd say, the Even Stevens movie, they're full on fighting.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's like over dramatized. Like, it doesn't feel, this at least feels realistic, like something
Yeah.
that would happen.
Oh, yeah,
Like
definitely.
Tanya holding a grudge because Victor lost his ring.
Which is also something that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say that, like, as a chef, my dad hasn't worn a wedding ring for, I can't even tell you how many years. He just doesn't wear it because my mom doesn't care. So that's a very common thing for chefs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even my aunt and uncle. She's a massage therapist and he's a carpenter, so they both don't wear their wedding rings. So they just went and got them tattooed. Because they're like, this is stupid. We
Yeah.
constantly lose them. We never know where they are.
Yeah.
Let's just go get this tattooed. Feels a little permanent. I don't know if I would make that decision, but it looks cool. But that's not a decision I would make.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Tanya's like, you don't wear it when you cook, you don't wear it when you shower. When do you wear it?
Yeah.
I don't know, I get it. He's busy. He does stuff with his hands.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to lose it down a drain.
Yeah. Also, like, it's uncomfortable.
Unless you wear it all the time, I hear.
Yeah. I know people who wear it all the time. I have a temporary one right now because mine's being fixed. But the moment I go home, my husband as well, we stick it on a dish. It's like, we only wear it if we're in public.
That's interesting.
Because otherwise, I'm like, I don't know. We're married. Why do I need to be wearing this when we're at home?
Okay. Fair enough.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I saw Victor's side. I also saw Tanya's side.
Yeah. I liked that while we were watching this bad first date unfold, the whole time I was just like, why did they go to a country western bar when this clearly isn't their thing? And then they made a comment about how
Yes.
much they hated it.
Well, do you remember what they thought they were going to?
A concert or something?
No, they thought it was Motown night.
Oh, okay.
But then they got there and it was country western night.
Yes.
So they knew the type of bar they were going to, but they thought it was a different night.
But Do you not think that if you were trying to do this for your parents and you found out, okay, you like country stuff, so it's a
Yeah.
little different.
Okay, but I don't like that type of country
Yeah,
stuff.
like if I found out that was their first date, I would have just like lit candles and put out some flowers and like made a romantic dinner, not done that.
Sure, I think it would have been like actually more helpful and more beneficial if they were like, what's the problem? Tanya's mad that Victor can't find his ring. Let's all get together and start a search party. Like, you
Well,
get Raven's room,
yes.
you get blah blah blah's room, instead of recreating this date. Like, it wasn't useful for anyone. They
Well,
didn't solve a problem.
well, yes, but Raven doesn't know that's what they're fighting over. So I just mean like if you're
But they're
creating a
making
nice
these
dinner for your
comments.
family.
But I feel like they
But
could
I
know.
think that's part of the point is that Raven's just not actually paying attention to her parents and what
Well,
they need.
sure. Well, what teenager is?
We're on our last episode.
Episode 21.
To see or not to
And this
see.
is our season finale.
Yes. So, in this one we see her grandma coming to stay to watch the kids and how she's psychic, and at the same time, Raven keeps like having visions and warning Chelsea and Eddie, but then they don't go to plan. They end up embarrassing them.
They come true,
Yeah.
but there's, Raven has short visions. Raven's visions do come true, as we know, but she only sees a small snippet of what's going on. So she sees this snippet of Chelsea walking through the halls of school and all the guys looking at her, and Chelsea looks
Yeah.
amazing.
And then
In reality,
Chelsea has toilet paper sticking out of her
or the like
pants.
toilet seat cover
Yeah.
sticking to her butt. And that's why everyone's looking at her. And she does look amazing.
Mhm.
But
It's called Jock Row too. It's all the
yeah.
cute jocks.
Yep. Jock block.
Jock block. There we go. Jock Row, I guess, would be a
Yeah.
little more controversial.
Yeah. And then she has a vision of Eddie climbing the rock wall,
Mhm.
which does come true.
Which she's scared of doing,
But
right?
after many attempts of Eddie climbing the rock wall, does her vision come true? So he embarrasses himself multiple times in front of people because he keeps thinking that he's going to succeed, and he ends up freezing because he has a fear of heights.
Mhm.
And so this is kind of leading to where Raven is like, I'm just not going to tell you my visions.
Well, she asks, I think, right? Like, what do you want me to do? Would it be better if I just don't tell you? And they are like, thank you. Yes. Eddie in particular is really upset. Chelsea kind of follows along, I think.
Yeah.
But it's the first time that we really see that tension between
Yep.
them. And so this is where her grandma is really helpful because she gets to talk to her grandma and ask for advice, and she's been through something similar before.
Yep. And and you see it like Raven is struggling when she decides not to tell them because she has visions of things that she can prevent from happening.
Mhm.
But then she's not sharing her visions with them, so she just keeps it to herself, and she kind of feels stuck in this hard place where like,
She's hiding part of herself.
yeah, is it better for me to tell you?
Yeah.
Or is it better for me not to tell you, because both seem pretty shitty?
Yeah. Because now she can't stop them from like situations that are bad.
Yeah. And so I think she decides in the end, like, she's gonna start telling them her visions again, but it takes a lot of heart-to-hearts with her grandma.
And her friends, I think she like tells them that there were a couple times that she was gonna tell them maybe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they end up realizing that it's overall better to know and also that it's part of her.
Yeah, and like she can't help it. She doesn't pick and choose, She's not picking and choosing what part of the vision she sees and what part
Yeah.
when it happens, she doesn't know.
Grandma V refuses to be called grandma.
Oh yeah.
She refuses to be called old. She's cute. She's sassy. Um, yeah.
You know what I didn't like about this episode? Because
What?
it felt lazy and like Disney was cheating us.
What?
When Raven decides she's not going to tell Chelsea and Eddie her visions,
Mm-hmm.
we don't see her visions.
We don't?
Nope. We see her make the face like she's going to have a vision, but we don't actually see what the vision was.
I don't like
And it
that.
feels lazy. To me, it just felt like they're like, oh, we can save money by not filming these scenes.
They do something similar in an episode in season 2. I'm
Mm.
looking forward to you reviewing that then.
I didn't like
Because
it.
I don't remember it in this episode, but I
Yeah.
remember it in that one, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what she's seeing.
That's how I felt, because then it was weird when the things would happen and it would flash forward to them happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, it doesn't give us the same setup because we didn't see what the vision was.
Yeah. Although I will say I appreciate those moments just to understand like how ridiculous her psychic face is, because she always makes this like big woo face.
Yeah.
But like we go into the vision, so it's like not a big deal, and you don't think about how long she
Yes.
stood there making that face for.
Well, and think about how many takes they do, because when they're filming television, they're doing a lot of takes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how many times is she doing that every single episode for them to film it?
I can't even like.
Oh, I feel like her eyes get so wide. I can't do it.
She like makes one wide and the other one small, and like.
Yeah. She does it really well.
I know. Oh, at the end of this episode, there's also some bloopers, which is how you know it's the season finale.
Yeah. Also, at the end of, towards the end of this episode, when Raven's original vision of Eddie climbing the rock wall successfully comes true,
Mm-hmm.
Eddie ends up climbing it successfully for himself. No one else is there except for Raven and Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
He has no audience this time. But then it shows him, there's this crazy scene of him trying to belay down and he can't belay down. I feel like I've had rock climbing chat on here before.
Yes.
This should just be titled Rock Climbing Chat with Jess, because it doesn't make sense to me. As someone who has rock climbed on many fake walls and a few real walls, it doesn't, and by walls I mean mountains, if you climb up to something, belaying down is not that hard. And even if you don't know how to properly belay, you like the rope just releases. It's an automatic clip-in wall is what they're using. It would just release down and he would come crashing to the floor. Like, it wouldn't be comfortable, but it shows him like sitting mid-air and like dangling, and like Chelsea and Raven are like pulling on his legs to get him down.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes absolutely no sense because that's not how belaying works.
I'm gonna blame it on public school budgets. And they just don't have good equipment. It's old, it's used, and it's stuck.
But that's not how it works. It just wouldn't work that way. Also, if it was bad public school equipment, they wouldn't have an automatic belay, because in 2003, that's relatively new fancy technology. They would have a PE teacher there belaying them.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, because they just clip in. They just
Well,
put on the harness and clip
I'm not
in.
a rock climber, so like that thing didn't that scene
It's
didn't
an
bother me at
entire scene,
all.
and they're like pulling on his legs. It's ridiculous. That's not how it works. It doesn't work like that.
How'd you feel about the season finale?
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah. How'd you feel?
that's good. I thought if it wasn't the one about Victor losing his job, then this made the most sense at next, because you get the grandma and the
Yeah.
perspective and her visions causing real world consequences.
Yeah.
But I still kind of think the one with Victor would make a little more sense.
I agree.
Just for the setup, especially,
Yeah.
or at least the penultimate episode instead of being 4 episodes before the finale.
Yeah.
But
I also think that's like, as people who know what is in season 2.
yeah,
Which, when they chose this order, like, was season 2 written? Did they know what was happening? So did it make sense to put that, or did it make sense to do this to see or not to see episode where Raven is truly seen? She, it's shown throughout multiple episodes that she struggles with being psychic. But
Mm-hmm.
then in this episode, she's really struggling with it. And it's the first time we kind of see her wish that she wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
feel like it's a good, like, emotional episode. And then to see her connect with a family member.
Yeah. And I like Grandma V, and I believe she comes back
Yeah.
in later episodes, I think.
Do we want to talk about worst and best?
Oh my
for
god, I
season 1?
forgot to even think about this. Oh, shout out, we didn't talk about it, episode 11. Raven's rich snooty cousin comes to visit from France, and Eddie's super into her, and he says Bon Jovi, y'all. And it's great.
Bon Jovi, y'all.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's my one shout out for the season of something we didn't watch.
Okay.
Okay. Best and worst. Do you have contenders?
Yeah.
Okay, you talk me
Are
through
we
it.
doing worst or best?
I think let's do best first.
Okay. I only have one contender for best.
Okay.
Episode 4, Wake Up Victor.
Really?
Yes.
Why? Is it because Beans is in it?
No, has nothing to do with Beans.
You sure?
Yeah. Episode 4, Wake Up Victor, is the best episode because it's the funniest. All the scenes of Victor with Tanya and Raven strapping him to the ironing board, going down the stairs, putting him on the skateboard. It's so funny. The physical comedy in this episode is done so well.
I would argue the same, but for episode 3, Test of Friendship, where they're on the window washing contraption and they're going back and forth and they're getting him to come to the window. Like,
Yeah.
these are two of the most
That was
played
so
and the
funny.
most iconic episodes. I
Yeah.
really feel like the first 4 episodes set the tone for that. So Raven with the
Yeah.
comedic commitment, you
Yeah.
know?
And what's kind of cool about episode 3 is it's the only episode, I know I mentioned this, but it's the only episode we see of the ones that I watched where Raven's vision doesn't come true,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of fun
Yeah.
because it brings a little bit of a different element because we can kind of predict if we see Raven see it in her visions, it's going to happen later in the episode. We're just
Yeah.
waiting for it to happen.
I like that it has a bit of friendship conflict, a bit of moral dilemma about her visions,
Yeah.
and also the zany, over-the-top physical comedy.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah.
I still think I like Wake Up Victor better just because I found myself laughing more. But Chelsea and Raven on the little like window washing contraption
In
where it's
their
like
costume.
it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And the sign is like flying everywhere and the bird is on Raven's head.
Yeah,
It's
and
funny.
then Eddie finally comes to the window and they're swinging back and forth and they're like, "Your teacher changed the test."
It is good. It's good.
I think we don't have to fight it out. We'll just
Yeah.
say your favorite is episode 4, mine's episode 3.
Yep.
Both are great. There's way more winners than losers in this
Yes.
show.
Yeah,
you know?
even though those are her favorite, I do have to say I have 2 contenders for worst, but I wouldn't say that they're as bad as some of the ones we had to watch in season 1 of Even Stevens.
No.
Um,
Nothing's worse than chocolate. Deep
Yeah.
chocolate.
Deep chocolate.
And heck of a Hanukkah.
Yeah, I
know you didn't
I
dislike it that
didn't
much.
hate those that much, but they weren't great. My contenders for worst are episode 14, which is A Dog by Any Other Name.
Yeah, I think that's a good contender.
And then, oh no, I just something happened. And then so episode 14 and then episode 19, Escape Clause.
Yeah.
And that one more, I just felt the plot was so unrealistic and it was so ridiculous that her necklace went flying off and then it got ran over by a lawnmower.
That's the physical comedy.
Then they had to like, I don't know, ditch school to replace the necklace, and then Mr. Petricelli was Santa Claus, but actually he's rewinding to the past to change it. It just felt crazy and unrealistic. Where episode 14 is dumb because it's dumb. Like, Chelsea can't have a crush on a boy because his name is her dog's name. It's just dumb. The entire plot was stupid.
Yeah. The episode 14 at least has some comedic relief when they're pretending to be boys. It's like very gender stereotype,
Yeah, it's
but
not my
it's
favorite type of comedy.
no, but it is kind of like this drag of the leg and the
Yeah.
shirts and skins comments and stuff. Like it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I don't think there's that much comedy in the Christmas episode. They're
Yeah.
mostly just like running around the mall.
Yeah. I guess the Christmas episode is my contender for worst because I just think the plot is dumb. Well, I guess I think both of them, the plot is dumb.
They're I think they're both dumb. I don't think the Christmas one is as dumb as you're making it out to be because lots of kids open up their presents early, but I think it's a little more boring.
Yeah. And the plot just felt unrealistic, but I guess you're saying it is realistic. But to me, it's unrealistic.
I don't.
But I think episode 14, that is stupider. I can't have a crush on a boy named Sam. Like, his name wasn't Cookie. Or, like, you know?
Yeah, I think and where the comedy was is still like a negative point because
Yeah.
it's because, you know, at least for us,
If someone told
reinforcing
me
gender roles isn't really something we want to do.
no. And if someone told me I had to watch one of those 2 episodes, I would watch the Christmas episode again.
I think I would too.
I don't think that I would watch A Dog by Any Other Name. It was just weird.
Yeah. And it felt, I don't know, it kept going on for a long time. So let's say that's the worst one.
Yeah. Yep. Episode 14, A Dog by Any Other Name.
So that's Raven season 1. We hope you enjoyed it. We might break season 2 into 2 episodes. We might not. We'll figure it out.
Mhm.
But we're really, really enjoying Raven, you know?
I feel like we keep saying this, but every show we watch,
It gets better.
it gets better.
Yeah. Like, honestly, no shade to Lizzie the way that we shaded Even Stevens, but Raven kind of does feel better.
It does.
As we
It
keep
does. We
going.
get more people of color. We
It's
get less of
fun.
telling white people's stories, and it doesn't
Mhm.
feel whitewashed. I think
Yeah.
that may change as the seasons go on.
One of my favorite things about Raven is that I always, you know, when there's a black family, then oftentimes all the side characters I think are white. But for her,
Yeah.
of the 3 best friends, 2 of them are black, and Raven repeatedly has black love interests as well.
Yep.
And sometimes, you know, later on in the series, her nemesis becomes Adrienne Bailon, who is in the Cheetah Girls, and she's Latina. And I don't know if that has to do with being in San Francisco, but at least like they didn't continue to whitewash it
Yeah.
to balance, you know,
Yep.
having a black family be the center of the show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very well done. It's hilarious. The physical comedy in this show tops out of any of the shows we've watched so far. I think just the acting is better because we don't have child actors that are gaining their footing in Disney. Like, Raven was a successful child actor before being cast as Raven.
Yeah.
So there's less of that learning curve. So it just hits.
I think her experience and her
Yes.
commitment probably set the tone for all of the
Yes.
less experienced child actors.
Yes.
Because you can tell she's definitely like leading the physical comedy and she
Yeah.
throws herself into everything in a way that Hillary and Shia didn't do.
Yeah.
They did it with more humility, like a kid would, being a little embarrassed, whereas Raven is shameless.
She just goes
She's
for
just
it.
full in, and that makes it so much easier for Annalisa and
Yeah.
oh my god, Orlando Brown to do
Orlando
it.
Brown.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm excited to keep watching it.
me too.
Season 2 next, we'll probably split it into 2 episodes, but you'll find out. You'll see what we end up doing. We hope you enjoyed us in person. Next one will probably be remote again, just because this is a short holiday
Well,
break.
definitely,
But
yeah.
maybe you'll see us in person again. Check out our socials, 90s Babies Nostalgia. Spell out the word 90s for YouTube and Instagram. Leave us comments. We enjoy reading them and responding to them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, our TikTok is 90s Babies Nostalgia, but use the numericals.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that,
We have Twitter, but we never use
yeah,
it.
don't go on our Twitter. Maybe. Well,
Thank you to Patrick Dunovit for our lovely theme music
yes.
and Don Wheeler for our cute babies artwork that I identify with more than myself now.
Yes.
And
We'll
we hope
see
you had
you.
happy holidays.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you.
Yeah, we'll see you in the new year. Have a happy new year. Hope that 2022 brings all of us a little more light, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
And get boosted.
Yes, please.
90s babies nostalgia.